So welcome everybody on Blab. This is Esprit Devora, as you guys know, and I have amazing LA startups with me who have had successful Kickstarter campaigns, and I thought it would be so exciting to learn from them. So I'll let each one go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll get into it, like how did you have a successful Kickstarter? Heads up for everybody that Elvina does have to jump off at a certain point, but that is perfect timing because we are allowing space to have like a quick fire mentor session with our amazing entrepreneurs. So when Elvina jumps off, someone awesome will take her spot and be able to get mentored on how to have a successful Kickstarter. So you guys ready? All right. Elvina, why don't you kick it off? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Elvina Beck, and I have a startup called Podshare. 3 years in, I had a little bit of a fork in the road, and we had to pivot. And so I looked to the crowdfunding community to help us save Podshare. And that was kind of the name of the campaign, to save Podshare. And we got onto TechCrunch, the cover of it, for being, quote unquote, the funniest crowdfunding video ever. That's what they called it on TechCrunch. And that day got us $7,000 in earnings, 15,000 hits on our YouTube video, and a crap ton of publicity. Raised 111% of what we had asked for. Everything is going into our new Podshare location. And yeah, we had a really successful crowdfunding.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Harold, how about you? Go ahead.
Yes.
And by the way, I am a contributor. Right?
Yes.
I contributed to these Kickstarters.
Yes,
I met Angel after she had her Kickstarter. We'll get into hers, but I am a customer of hers as well. So I financially contributed to everybody on this lab.
Yes, much appreciated. So I kickstarted a portable solar charger. I'm going to put this up here, called the Sunjack. We raised about $60,000 in 30 days, which was 200% of our goal. But
Awesome.
Most importantly, we gained several distributors and have been able to scale up since then. And now we've launched on HomeDepot.com when negotiations with Sears, Kmart, and a variety of other retailers.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Congratulations. And
Thank
Angel?
you.
Hi. We did our Kickstarter back in spring. We raised about $50,000, and we just scraped past the finish line. We had a photo finish, a nail biter, if you will, in the last week or so, which was incredibly stressful, but ultimately really awesome. And I think the rewards of having a successful Kickstarter continue even to this day. We attracted our first official seed money through Kickstarter. We got our first international partner because of our Kickstarter. They found us through the Kickstarter channel. So it's been great, and it's really helped us kind of get a jump start on our business.
Totally. And you guys in the Blab community, if you have any questions, in order to make it easier on all of us, if you could just put like a big capital Q in front of your comment, that way I could kind of scan and ask any questions that you guys will have. So, I mean, any of you could jump in on this. Why? Let's do a very basic beginning question. Why Kickstarter? You all did Kickstarter, right?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I did Indiegogo, actually.
Okay, so that's my first question. Why Kickstarter? Why Indiegogo? And anybody could jump in.
Well, I can speak to why we went to Kickstarter. When we first started thinking about it, we talked to a woman who runs the Kickstarter for the Sundance Channel. She basically curates a list of film projects that they are interested in seeing get supported. And when we talked to her about the pros and cons, she told us the reason that Sundance had gone with Kickstarter over Indiegogo is that it's an all or nothing proposition. And that has a benefit of, one, making sure that the money you raise is enough to actually accomplish your goals. Because if you're looking to raise, let's say, 50,000 and you only raise 5, there's not a whole lot you can do, but the people who gave you that money still expect you to deliver. But you don't have the funds to actually deliver on the things you set out to do. So that was one thing. But then also, I think having that all or nothing proposition, it really creates a sense of urgency for the people who really want to see you get supported. So we had somebody who backed us early on at $5 level. And then go through the month,
right.
when he was nervous that it wasn't going to happen for us, he like bumped it up to like $300. So I think like that all or nothing thing really like creates a sense of urgency for your backers, and it creates a situation of success for the folks who are successful in getting their campaigns funded. You actually have the money that you need to go and achieve your goals.
And totally. Hi again, Brittany, by the way. I'm happy you're here. Elvina, go ahead.
Well, apparently only 43% of campaigns on crowdfunding platforms, whether it be Indiegogo or Kickstarters, actually get funded. So that's one thing to attribute. But the popularity of crowdfunding campaign, apparently in 2014, it went up 167% in popularity. So it's a great source to raise money, right? And awareness and community. And for us, it did all of that. It funded our next project. It let the world know, hey, we need help, you know, and we're looking to the community. And it got actual people trying the pods. So it's threefold and only increasing. So now with Jobs Act changing, you have other type of crowdfunding platforms such as Mass Catalyst and
wait, in case someone doesn't know, wait, I think you're going ahead because some people may not know. So like, what's the Jobs Act? Let's kind of rewind it a bunch because I don't want to get ahead of people. Is because we have the unique opportunity to visually see. Would you guys all mind grabbing like some sort of component that people helped fund? So Angel, for you to be your nail snaps. I know Harold, with you, I carry it around with me every single day. Elvina, if you could give everybody a tour, that would be great. Let's start with Elvina. Why don't you walk around and show people what PodShare is? So you want to kind of vocally say what we're looking at? Oh, I guess you don't have the mic set up. Okay, so this is a bed right here that she built. No, I can't hear you, but I'll talk for you. Can you hear me? Okay. So this is a bed she built that, yeah, you could get in the bed, and it's like she builds these pods inside, I guess, a big room, and it's a community of people, almost like a hostel, except you have a really close-knit community that stay in touch for a long time. But look at that. Look how amazing that she built this, you guys. It's amazing. And so that turns into a desk. And then you see she's putting it back down and it turns into a bed. And you see there's a bed on top too. And it's super modern and contemporary. And there's the chalkboard as well to write on. And the TV. And and there's like a staircase going up to it. And she had like a bunch of these. There's a whole story behind it. But it's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And the one last thing she has in PodShare, she actually has a podcast. No, so PodShare has nothing to do with podcasting, but she does happen to have a podcasting and music space for people to come in LA and utilize this space. It's like a sound studio, a mini sound studio, in order to record music, create podcasts, etc. And I'm sure later when she has audio again, she'll tell you her Twitter handle. So you could jump in and find out how you could go use the space. There's a ton of events there. I know Digital LA produces events there all the time. So this is the headquarters of PodShare, but what she wants to build all over LA and around the world, quite frankly, are the PodShare communities where you just saw the bed. So that's her main thing, is the bed community sharing, sleeping, living environment. And the co-working is just like an added feature. So I'll let she's like, good job. Elvina, I'll let you well, yeah, go ahead, Angel.
How much does it cost to live in a PodShare? That's so cool.
I'm not sure if her mic's back in yet.
Oh.
She's gonna figure out her audio, but then we can ask that question. So Harold's ready and set up, and then we'll jump back to questions for Elvina about PodShare. So I'll let you get your audio set up for Mike, and just when we're ready, just give me a cue that your mic's back set up, Elvina. So Harold, go ahead and tell us about SunJack.
Sure. So this is SunJack. It is a portable solar charger that provides wall outlet charging speeds for any of your mobile gadgets and devices.
Can you hear me?
So this will charge an iPhone in about 90 minutes. It also has a battery pack that can store energy, the solar energy. And one of these packs can charge an iPhone or any smartphone really about 4 times over. and can also power this USB-powered light, which provides entire night's worth of lighting from one day of sun. So it's just like being able to keep yourself powered anywhere, anytime, using sustainable, renewable energy. And we also have a humanitarian side of this. So beyond charging our first world luxuries, we kind of like what Tom's does for shoes, we do for energy. And we donate solar units to developing countries. We also donate our Sunjack solar chargers to a tiny house village in Oregon,
Wow.
which is a free housing for homeless people.
That's amazing. I just want to make sure, for me, it cut out a little bit on the right-hand side. Were you guys able to hear everything Harold was saying? Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. And Angel, go ahead. And can we hear you now?
I don't know, can you?
Yep, yeah. We can hear you now. So Elvina, Angel had a question. She was asking how much.
So the idea is Esper, you did amazing. The idea is what you can live and work in the same space. You've got all these co-working spaces doing great things, but you can't take naps in them. They actually prohibit you from taking naps. So everyone gets tired after X amount of hours. For me, it's like 6. And you just want a power nap. So if you're living and working in a pod, the idea is, the shoemaker makes shoes in the front and lives in the back, not takes the 405 to get home through traffic, environmental issues, and all sorts of costs. So these pods convert from bed to desk, as you saw, and the cost of the pod is $50 here in Hollywood. In a month's time, we're opening downtown for $35, and we're doing the first membership-based housing project in Los Angeles, which is like if you're staying downtown, you have access to co-working and co-living and the social network with pedestrians, we call them, in Hollywood. And then in October, we open Los Feliz by the Vista Theater. And tomorrow I'm going to look at a place in Westwood. So imagine multiple hubs across the city of LA. You pay one nightly or daily fee, but you get access to any one of them, because I see the trend as being access, not ownership. And you get, again, place to sleep, place to work, and place to meet other cool people like you.
That's super awesome. I'm super excited about the one that's going to be like by the Vista Theater, because that's right by my house too.
The pods convert from bed to desk, but it's $50 a night here, $35 there. It's $900 a month for people who want to do monthlies for live and work. So if you're in between apartments, don't have a friend's couch to crash on, actually touring LA from another country or city, Podshare should be the space.
Awesome.
That's very cool.
And Angel, before we move forward with Nails Naps, Harold, I would love for you to share like your vision that you talked about, like how Elvina just shared her vision of what like her main mission in why she cares so much about Podshare. What was your vision with Sunjack? Like, why was this really important to you to create it, and where do you see it going?
Sure. I mean, ultimately, I believe in solar power, and for anybody who lives in LA, the hazards of pollution. I see a future world running on clean energy, moving away from gasoline-powered cars to solar energy. The more we can decommission our coal power plants and replace it with solar, I think the better. And I see Sunjack almost like a gateway drug into solar.
Perfect. And if anyone has questions too, remember you could just put your questions with the capital Q on the right, and then I'll make sure. I'm gonna before we move on, just so it doesn't get lost in the mix, Angel, I'd like to ask questions for Podshare. Can you patent the bed and sell
with like patents, the same thing with franchising. There's like a huge upfront cost, like $100K. And my question as an entrepreneur is, do I want to put $100K into building more locations with beds or into licensing, right? Of course, the more we do it, the more you recognize the pods as being Podshare. It's like a patent in itself, but not really. Yeah, it's hard. If I had all the money in the world, like if I was funded, not through crowdfunding, but actual VC, which is a whole separate discussion that I'm sure Esper knows a bunch about, then we could put X amount of dollars towards like a franchise fees and patent fees.
Awesome. And one thing that we'll be discussing later, because again, the topic is how to have a successful crowdfunding campaign. We're going to be talking about, do we need a press strategy in tandem with the crowdfunding campaign? But next up is Nail Snaps and Angel Anderson. Go ahead. I love Nail Snaps.
So I wanted to create Nail Snaps because as a user experience designer, I'm constantly gesturing on screens and showing people different things, and my hands are always on display. So in meetings, I always like to have my nails done, but unfortunately, I never had the time to get my nails done.
Right.
And the chemicals that were used in polish and some of the shady sort of labor practices around salons made the whole thing feel like it was ripe for renewal. And so what we created, what the Kickstarter was about, was creating a platform that would let people turn their photos into custom nail wraps. And I'm wearing them right now. You can see this pattern. I don't know if you can see clearly or not, but like this pattern is actually, it's pina colada under a magnifying glass, under a microscope. So the way that what we ended up building with the Kickstarter funds and some seed money is this mobile app that lets you rotate and resize pencils so that you can create nail art with different parts of an image. So, you know, when I like a part of an image, I can just like copy that I can lock that particular nail. Now that one's locked, and I can keep moving the stencil around and get other parts of the image. So when you save your design and purchase it, it shows up
like, oh my God.
In a cute little package like this. And then the way that you actually apply it is you just peel it off the sheet, stick it in place, and file off the excess with a nail file. So there's no dry time, there's no toxins, you don't have to soak your fingers in acetone in order to get these off. They just peel off like a sticker. But they look and last like a high quality salon custom manicure.
Totally. And as a customer, I like to put my podcast art on nail snaps, because then I could like hold up my nails and be like, check out my podcast art. And they're super easy to put on, and they're great girl time, because I was at a conference once and I was sitting next to my girlfriend, and so we put them on together next to each other while we were listening to speakers. And I love my nails, and they last forever and they look amazing. And I'm not someone that's went into the manicures to get nail art done, but I can't. Now I don't want to go to the manicures at all, because it's so much more convenient and lasts longer to just use nail stamps. And it's like an attention catcher. What do when they say peacocking or something, like something that makes you stand out? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. We're actually seeing a lot of guys start to wear nail art. There was a nail art salon that just opened up near me called Hammer and Nails, and they exclusively focus on men. And this is definitely a good way for guys to peacock. My husband, when he was testing the app, he got so many compliments and funny looks when we were like at a wedding in Texas, and it was like, well, wait a second, what's going on with your nails? Totally. But it was cool. It was like a great conversation starter. And because it's your own photo, like every single thing has like a story associated with it. Like my cat. And when I wear this nail art of my cat, like people go nuts.
Totally. I can't believe I don't want to move. I should have like brought them into the like living room with me. But yeah. And how much are they? We have a question.
So they retail for $19, and that includes free shipping, and each set includes 2 full sets of 10. So you get, depending on your sizing, you get at least 1 week, possibly 2 different wears out of them, depending on your sizing.
I love mine. I mean, I like I said, been to Podshare, carry around my Sun Jack all day long, and I love nail snaps. So why did you guys choose between Indiegogo and Kickstarter? For you, Elvina, you did Indiegogo, and Harold and Angel did Kickstarter. So what was like top 3 benefits of using Indiegogo, and one thing that you wish you knew about that you're like, I don't know if this was the right choice?
As far as platform, like as far as crowdfunding in general, I wish I knew to do a lot of
platform.
Platform.
Indiegogo versus Kickstarter, yeah.
Well, I hear that Kickstarter is more for hardware, and since I don't know if it's a lifestyle brand or like a housing option, Indiegogo does seem to do a lot of like lifestyle-ish or filming, and they have hardware too. I don't know. I know Slava Rubin, and like you, Esprit, I like to support my friends. So I don't know anyone at Kickstarter. Their biggest campaign and the biggest in the world, I guess, has been Pebble Watch, and it's a hardware app, and a hardware play. So I thought, well, I got to support my friends, and that's why I went with Indiegogo. But I should have done a lot of preliminary advertising for the campaign, because I did 90 days, unlike you, Harold. I did 30. I did 90 days, and I did no preliminary work whatsoever. I just kind of launched it and thought everybody would come, and like nobody gave 2 shits. Literally, no one cared. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to really fall on my face publicly. And it's so embarrassing because you got this great project, right? And the marketing isn't there behind it, and people, it was a Christmas holiday. I launched it in the worst period ever. It was when people were buying presents for everybody, and like, you would think like, oh, why don't you buy a pod experience for your friends? But that didn't go out very well. And my birthday was in that time period. I was like, hey guys, want to give me a birthday present and like invest in PodShare? So God, I tried everything. And literally 50 days into the campaign, we got that TechCrunch article and everything. I literally threw in the towel. Was like, this is it. Like, I'm a failure publicly. This is so embarrassing. And then that day, bam, we're like, whoa, how did that happen?
So, and Elvina, I know you have to jump off soon, and we're going to get into Kickstarter, so we'll focus more on that. And so I'm glad we had a moment to talk about Indiegogo. But before you have to go, just to make sure, how can people get in touch with you if people want to stay at PodShare? People have questions. I saw one thing. He's the early adopter. I saw one thing that said, are you looking for VC?
If you want to hit me up at Elvina Beck is my Twitter handle, and I try to be as active as I can on there, or same thing on Instagram. But if you want to come to PodShare and literally work from here, you'll see me in action, and you'll see my little team making a big splash, hopefully, with our new locations. So you can literally come and work. We're at Hollywood and Vine right now, and it's $15 a day from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. or $5 an hour if you just want to like podcast back here. Also, we're open to events and stuff. So there's a way to make FaceTime. I am kind of running around like a chicken without a head right now. Obviously, I'm jumping off right now. I'm going to go shoot Avril Lavigne right now because in addition to crowdfunding, I funded my startup totally bootstrapped for 3 years with income from productions. So I haven't taken any VC money to attribute to that question. But there are some VCs that have showed interest. I'm just so afraid to lose the authenticity of like our home brew. We're like your neighborhood bar for beds, and I'm afraid we're going to turn into like Starbucks. And I love Starbucks, don't get me wrong, but I love my like intelligentsia or like,
And just one last question before you have to go, and I want to give Harold and Angel a chance to ask you a question before you have to go too. But since we'll be talking about it in just a few minutes, so you said you did not have a press campaign intentionally set up before. You did get press, like you got a huge TechCrunch article, but you didn't have a campaign going on in order to help you with the success of.
That was the stupid thing. No, I have production experience, right? I'm a camera operator, editor, and talent, right? So I was able. I didn't get spotlight because of necessarily PodShare. PodShare was like a byproduct of having a really good video. So I got the spotlight for having a sick-ass video, and that ties it back to how I fund my startup. It was just through video production because I've been doing it for 10 years. Right. So I think my recommendation to anybody is like use what you can or who you know to try to get the best video possible because that's your foot in the door, right? If that's a snooze fest. I mean, your product could still be really good. Like Harold's just like a legitimate need, or Angel's that is like freaking cool. I'm not too girly as you can tell probably, but I appreciate, art and what you have is like art on your fingers. So tips. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is like, you just got to tell a good story, right? Oh, everyone wants a good story. There's so much content out there. How do you like beat through the brush and like get your story out there?
So before you take off, Harold, Angel, do you have any questions that you have since she's about to go? It's okay if you don't, but if you do, I wanted to give you a chance.
I'm just really super excited about the one by the Vista. Cool. I can't wait.
We'll have a little party. You can totally come and bring all your friends.
Awesome. Harold, any questions before Elvina takes off?
Solar pods?
Did you mention that you got on TechCrunch for your video?
Yeah. So if you look up TechCrunch and PodShare, you'll see they named this the funniest crowdfunding video ever.
Elvina, before you go, can you post the link in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
No, in a second. So Harold, Cool. And Harold, go ahead. Cool.
Yeah, so just curious, like how did you decide to go for a funny crowdfunding video versus a more standard kind of video?
So I looked on YouTube, and the best video out there is Dollar Shave Club. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I could be the female version of Dollar Shave Club. And I kind of looked at like what female versions there are out there. And like, you got the Tina Feys and you got, but I was thinking the Orbits girl. I don't know why, but I thought if I put a blue dress on and kind of do that like ding smile, maybe I could be like Orbits girl meets Dollar Shave Club. And then PodShare is like curing world loneliness, right? We're filling beds, but maybe we're curing world loneliness. And now it becomes like a PSA or like a social good, right? And then everybody's lonely. That's one thing everyone has in common, right? So maybe you can find like the lowest common denominator. Like everybody needs power, and it is solar, right? Or everybody has fingernails, right? And so that's your, what is everybody absolutely, like, what's your biggest niche, right? You're not into, like, your biggest market. And for me, I'm like, loneliness. So I think you got to put some, you got to get a really good campaign, but I didn't have like a campaign manager. I didn't like pay anybody there's a bunch of people that hit you up. They're like, let me do your press. And it's like, I don't have money for that. You want me to spend my crowdfunding money to pay the marketing? That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
totally. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Elvina, for hanging out. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited. Next steps from here is we're going to be talking to Angel and Harold about Kickstarter and about having a press campaign in alignment with your crowdfunding campaign to see if that's what it takes to have to meet your goal. So Elvina, we'll see you later at the very end of the Blab interview. Someone is going to be lucky enough to be taking Elvina's spot so that we can have a quick fire mentor session.
This chair right here.
Bye. Bye. All right, you guys. So moving on next. Let's see. I'm locking the seat. Sorry for right now. Okay, so let's get into it. Kickstarter. Elvina talked about why she chose Indiegogo. Why did the both of you choose Kickstarter?
I feel like for me, it was about like making sure that there was a sense of urgency. Like the people who were backing us knew that if we didn't hit our goal, we wouldn't get a penny. So that all or nothing proposition created a sense of urgency for the backers, but it also made sure that we weren't going to, if we were either going to get our goal or not get our goal. But I didn't want to be in a situation where we only got $5,000, but everybody who'd helped give me $5,000 now expects me to go out. So are you
saying with Indiegogo, even if you don't meet your goal, you have to, can you talk about that a little bit?
My understanding is Indiegogo, you get whatever you raise. So like you could have a goal of say $100,000, but you could only raise about $2,000.
Right.
You get to keep that money. What are you going to do with the $2,000? Because you certainly can't do all the things that you set out to do with $100,000. So I feel like it sets up an uncomfortable expectation from your backers that you're going to go out and do all this stuff that now
and
you
Harold,
don't have
I met you at an interesting time because I wrote a whole article about you utilizing Indiegogo, and you had set up on Kickstarter, considered Indiegogo, and then ended up going with Kickstarter. So what helped make that decision?
Sure. Just one thing about Indiegogo is that they do have two funding models. One is that they do pay on partial funding, and then the other is an all or nothing campaign. And the percentage takes they have are different. Mm-hmm. So they take a higher percentage if it's a partial funding, and they take a lower percentage if it's all or nothing. So Esprit, interestingly enough, we met at a Indiegogo workshop seminar given by one of the founders of Indiegogo. And after that workshop, I was certainly very leaning towards Indiegogo, but after trying to reach their tech support and customer service, I got very slow to no responses. So it's like, well, if you're not going to respond to me, then I've just got to go with the more responsive platform.
Right. And I think one thing I'll contribute to the conversation actually is I've been a contributor, and I think Indiegogo and Kickstarter use a different terminology for each. I can't remember which is which, but anyway, I call myself a contributor of both. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember, so it's not factual, but I'm pretty sure the reason I contributed to Elvina was not because I was searching Indiegogo. It's because I found Elvina's press, and then I clicked through to contribute to her crowdfunding campaign. Whereas as a consumer, I call Kickstarter a mall of innovation. Because I go in there and I literally feel like I'm in the coolest, hippest mall ever, and I'm finding the best stuff when no one else has heard about it before, and I get like the first dib on discount. Whereas when I go to Indiegogo, and this is a really recent experience, when I go to Indiegogo, I don't have a fun experience shopping. The UI is just really different, and Angel knows a lot about UI. Her background's actually in user interface, right? Is that how you call it, Angel? Yeah. Or user experience design. And I really don't enjoy my experience on Indiegogo. And so I would say because of that, my go-to is now Kickstarter because it's just more fun. Like, it's easier to contact someone. It's easier to look at their bio. It's easier to see with a video. It's easier to see what's going on. It was just a better like experience for me searching the site to be able to make a contribution. So, so now moving on into it, to answer the question everybody's waiting for, did you have a press campaign set up in alignment with the launch of your crowdfunding campaign in order to make it successful? Whoever would like to communicate first.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, no, I did not. And I think that was a major mistake, something for future crowdfunding campaigns I would definitely work on. Pretty much launched and then worked hard on building press, very, very hard. Something very interesting that I learned about Kickstarter's algorithm was you're ranked based on the number of supporters you have divided by the number of days that the campaign has been running. So the more supporters that you have on day one, you're going to be ranked higher, and that's going to create a sort of feedback loop, because the higher ranked items are going to get more exposure and get more supporters.
That's a really important thing to note. When we launched our Kickstarter campaign, we also did not have out of the gate a press strategy. We added one in about a week into it. We were also set up for 30 days. And we didn't have it ready to go when we launched. And then we realized, oh crap, we really have to like get the word out. Like we've exhausted our personal contact lists now. Now what do we do? And so we sent out a bunch of pitches. We had a friend that Sarah knew start sending out pitches essentially to different media outlets. And
by the way, Sarah's her co-founder.
She got,
yes,
Sarah's my co-founder. Lovely, lovely, awesome co-founder. Sarah had this contact that she knew from her other startup. She basically started sending out pitches to different magazines and press outlets for us. But I think the thing that like really like moved the dial for us was a friend of mine who has like a weekly newsletter. She included us in her weekly newsletter, and she happens to have a lot of press people who are subscribed to her newsletter. So it was like press for the press.
Like Harrow or
really,
something.
Like indie.
Like Harrow.
What's that?
Help a reporter out,
Yeah. Exactly. So that really gave us a leg up. And then suddenly a bunch of press happened, but I think it was because those people saw us as one of her recommends. The woman is called Ann Friedman. If you don't already subscribe to Ann Friedman's newsletter, you should, because it will make you laugh and smile. And
or can you post it at some point?
I'll post it. Yeah, I'll post the link at the end.
And again, anybody new that's joining us is, if you have a question, just have a capital Q so I could glance over and see your question. And then at the end, that last spot on the screen will be for a very lucky person having a quick fire mentor session. So, so you did have, and I know I spoke with Dollar Shave Club, and they did have a press campaign, and that helped tremendously. And I think this is something that's this strange secret on crowdfunding. I don't think it gets talked about enough about how important it is to have a press campaign. It seems like this instantaneous thing. So Harold, when you said you started reaching out to press right away, how did you even know where to go? And Angel, when they started like contacting you, what were the kind of questions they had? Like, let's get into the relationships with the press. Harold, why don't you kick it off, because that's more from the beginning.
Yeah, so I started a Google spreadsheet and basically compiled a list of blogs in the environmental space, like treehugger.com. I also compiled a list of blogs in the gadget space, and basically went down the list, contacting each one of them, letting them know about our campaign. Probably got maybe a 10%, 5 to 10% response rate. So pretty much every single day I was emailing and tweeting and trying to contact various blogs to cover us.
And Angel, what was your experience?
Did you want me to talk about like the kind of questions?
How did you know how to respond to them?
So a lot of times they would ask very similar questions. And I have to say, like, to this day, a lot of the press that we get asks same things like, how did you come up with the idea? Tell us how you, originated this, and, what was your inspiration? They'll ask the same question in a variety of different ways. And because I'm getting the same questions over and over, I also have a Google Doc that actually is all of my press responses to various flavors of the same questions. So I have that going, and I'll actually refer back to that so that I can make sure that I'm being consistent, but also not saying it exactly the same way, because it's the exact same question I got before. So I keep that Google Doc, and I just add to it every time I get a new question. But a lot of times it's, how did you get started? What did you do before? Why do you think this is the right time for this business? And, what's your funding situation?
So let's just kind of re-clarify. Both of you successfully funded your campaigns, correct? And what was the dollar amount for each of you? Yeah,
we did 60,000.
What was that, Errol?
60,000.
So 50 and 60. And one thing that I think is really interesting, and her name is facing me right now, Amanda Palmer. She had one of the most successful Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaigns. I think it was a Kickstarter, but it may be Indiegogo. I'm not sure. But one thing she says is, in this number is, you look like, wow, you have $50,000 now or 60,000, and you're like loaded. And the thing that I hear often is actually crowdfunding is a break even or in the red endeavor. Like, it doesn't cover all the costs of production. It's not a profitable thing where you're running to the bank. Can you speak to that now that you had a successful campaign? What was your experience? Did it match what you needed for production?
Yeah, for us, it was actually very, very profitable. We calculated everything out to ensure that it would be.
Cool. And for you, Angel?
For us, it was not. It was not what we needed. However, through the Kickstarter, we also attracted some additional seed money. So what we hadn't really budgeted for was the cost of legal. And when we started getting international press, we started realizing people are going to copy this idea, and we need to potentially think about patenting it, and particularly the mechanism that I just showed, the mobile app. We want to protect the experience and how that's actually done. So when we started getting a lot of international press, we thought, okay, we're going to patent this. And then a lot of our money got poured into that. We didn't have enough money to continue our build. But because of the Kickstarter, we attracted a seed backer, and we were able to get the money that we needed. So in a way, Kickstarter kind of provided what we had hoped to get. It gave us the press.
That's what I'm looking for, the awareness. Yeah,
the distribution channel, but also it gave us additional money, because through the Kickstarter, seed investors came to us, and we didn't have to do the dog and pony show. We didn't have to do a big song and dance. We just got a bunch of money that we definitely needed to get the patent taken care of, really push the app forward so that it wasn't just like a minimum viable product, but a maximum valuable product that actually is more of a delight to use. It wasn't just really super bare bones, which is what we were going to do initially. And one strategy, I'm
about to ask you about when you saw the tipping point that the cash really started rolling in. But one thing that I've heard, and one strategy in these crowdfunding campaigns, is people create products over and over again. And so people who've previously contributed to your campaign will then contribute again and again, be a loyal contributor, which makes your future campaigns that much more successful. And then you look like you're the leader. Can you guys speak to that for a bit, and then share what tipping points you saw?
Yeah, we've launched several new products since our initial campaign.
I didn't even know that, Errol. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't launch it through crowdfunding, but we just marketed it through our Facebook and email newsletter campaigns. So that's been very effective. And our tipping point was reaching our fundraising goal. It took us about 3 weeks to reach our goal, and then the final week we doubled it.
And what do you think, what helped the most in reaching that goal?
Just a lot of hard work. And
what's that mean, though? When you say, and maybe you've already said this before, but let's just say it again, what does hard work mean?
Continually contacting and outreaching to blogs, media, and PR.
And just one more time, and where, if someone's not specifically in your industry, if you were telling someone in general, the very first step to take to do the same thing in their industry, not knowing what the industry is, what would you say?
make a list of 500 to 1,000 blogs that would be relevant for your product and start contacting all of them.
And I would say to take that one step further, if you are limited on time, I'm a huge customer of Fancy Hands. I could post the link to the right and have Fancy Hands look up several blogs for you and send you a spreadsheet, and so you can save a bit of time on that. I don't know if either of you have used Fancy Hands before, but Fancy Hands is an outsourcing service, and they're all based in the States, although I have no problem with virtual assistants that are located outside of the States, but they are all based in the States. And they do tasks in 20-minute increments, and it's extremely affordable. So you could have anything from 5 tasks up to their top plan, which I don't remember what it is anymore, but the tasks do roll over if you don't use them. And I think the pricing plans are somewhere between $5 or $10 up to like $60, like really affordable. And then you assign the task. You could assign it via a text, I think even text message, I'm not sure, but definitely they have a mobile app. You could call in the task, you could email in the task. I mean, they make it so easy for you to just let them know, or voicemail, like they make it so easy, and then they'll do the task for you, and then it's done, and it's amazing. And I've been a customer for several years, and very few times have I been disappointed with the results. So yeah, and I have a discount link if you guys want it, so I'll post it. I don't know if let me see if I could post it right away. Oh no, I'm not on Safari. So there you go. So I'll post it after. But yeah, that's Fancy Hands. So Angel, can you speak a bit to your tipping point?
We also, it was like a slow build for the first like 3 weeks, and our last week is when we finally like eked across the finish line, but we didn't double in that last week. I think for me, like fatigue had definitely set in by the time we got to that last week. I also like had about 4 weddings that I was in right around that time. And I knew that I was like maid of honor in 3 of them. So I thought I need to do the Kickstarter this month, because the following month I have a wedding, and the month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that, because it was 4 weddings in 4 months.
So you didn't expect Kickstarter to be as work intensive as it became, right?
I had no idea. And I was working a full-time job at the time. And I thought, very naively, I'll put this up. I'll send it out to people. People will like this cool idea, and then they'll back it, because that's how I've always experienced it as a backer. I've backed, a dozen or so projects, for friends and just people who I thought had an interesting idea. And the way that it's come to me is that people would share this with me, and I would go to it and back it. So in my mind, it was so simple. If they like the idea, they will back it. What I didn't realize was, even with your friends, even with your family, you have to constantly hound everybody to make sure that they give before your deadline. And so there's a hustle and a communication thing that's happening, publicly and privately with every single person on every single channel at your disposal to broadcast. So I was tweeting a storm. I was posting a ton of updates into our existing Kickstarter backers. I was reaching out to different blogs and friends that I have, even tangentially related to the press, like that constant hustle. And by the last week, when we finally scraped across the finish line, I was like, so tired. I should have probably kicked it into high gear, but I was exhausted. And all these other wedding things, wedding duties, I was planning a bachelorette party in the UK and another one in Texas.
One thing I want to get into is how to properly set up a campaign, because this is something Harold and I were heavily exposed to in the Indiegogo talk. And then to wrap up at the end is delivery, getting your product out to people, and how does that work, and having to meet several people's. We could talk about how many contributors you had, if you remember the number. So let's talk about how to set up the campaign. There's so many cool tips. One I remember the exact number, and again, when I have a moment, I'll post the link to the article I wrote. I think it was called how to hack your way to having a successful Indiegogo campaign. But one of them, Harold, maybe you remember the number, is you have the $5 contribution is the community feel good contribution. So you have to have that. But then also, if you have a $20 contribution versus a $25 contribution, it's a huge difference. One of those numbers has a way higher conversion rate. Do you remember what the number was, Harold, by chance?
Yeah, $20.
It was 20. So like having 25 versus 20, huge difference, crazy. And these are statistics that we learned from Indiegogo, which was amazing. And then also having a video at the top. So if you guys could get into like how to lay out the campaign page, what to think about when you're creating it, so it creates that emotional connectivity with the contributor.
I would say one of the best things that we did, and now having been through it, I would be even more rigorous about this. But what you can do is you can set up your Kickstarter page, and then you can share that out privately with people before the campaign is live. And that's really good at helping you to kind of test the effectiveness of the page that you set up. Definitely 100%, you have to have a video. It should be at the top. Definitely you're going to need photos and a good description, and basically look at all the Kickstarters that you like and see how they're describing their product. That's kind of like the research that we did. But one thing that I will say I wish that I had been more careful about was the number of rewards that you start with should be small, because you don't know which ones are actually going to work until the campaign starts. So we had one reward that we thought would be really popular where you get some prefabricated nail snaps, thank you, but you would also be donating nail snaps to a charity. Nobody bit, not a single one.
And how much was that one?
That one was a higher one. It was like $100, but we had other ones that were higher than that people did do, and that one,
like, what was your best one?
Not a single. Our best one was $1,000, and we had 3 people back us at that level. For the $1,000 one, it was like 20 sets. It was like a huge like gift pack of a bunch of nail snaps. You got early access to the beta. You got a thank you. You got
which reward had the most contributors? The $20 one. And say it again. What was the reward for the $20 one?
That one was basically, I think that one was our future designer. So you didn't get a prefab. You actually just got a promo code so that when the app came out, you got like 2 or 3 sets for free once the app was live, rather than getting a prefab. And that was great, because then it meant there was nothing to ship. Fulfillment is no joke. It takes a lot of time. It's really tedious. So if I knew then what I know now, I would have set my Kickstarter up with a much smaller number of rewards, because once the rewards are up, even if they're not performing, you can't take them away.
That's great to know.
Actually, from what I understand, as long as nobody has bid, you can take it away.
No, even if nobody has bid on it, because we had that issue, and we couldn't get rid of the one that was not performing. We also had another one that was like for brides. We had 2 rewards that just didn't move the needle at all. Nobody backed at those levels, and they were kind of like in the mid to higher area, but they weren't our highest, which did get lots of backing. In the 1,000, in the 500, in the 250, those all did very well. But like this one was $75, and another one was like in the $40 range, and neither of them performed, and we couldn't.
And how many contributors did you have in total?
932.
And Harold, how many contributors did you have in total?
About 400.
About 400. And then what was your most successful reward level and offering?
$100 level, which was one Sunjack solar charger. The thing I learned about Kickstarter is it's really a shopping platform, like you said. Mm-hmm. It's not really a donation site. It's similar to Etsy.
Totally.
Everybody here is familiar with Etsy, where Etsy is a shopping portal for people that want to buy a particular type of good. Kickstarter is a shopping portal for people who want to buy innovative products. And so if you really gear your campaign around that, understanding that people are not donating to you, they're just buying something, then I think that's you'll be successful with that.
Totally. And how would you lay out your page if you could do it over again, like content-wise?
Pretty much, what I did, because it was successful. Something I did do was split test the video. And I found that by improving the finish rate on the video, which is a key performance indicator, a metric that Kickstarter gives you, we were able to significantly improve our conversion rate on the page.
What would you do, Angel?
I would probably make it a little bit shorter. At the very end, we had images of all of the prefabricated designs, and it was pretty long to scroll through, and we weren't sure like what would be more effective, showing the press that we had already received on our Kickstarter, or showing more of the images of the product. And we went back and forth trying to figure out like what lends more legitimacy trying to people. And that's not something that we could get any kind of metrics on, because there was no way to really like judge that. And we were kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, hair on fire during that phase of just try this. It was very much like a microcosm of the startup experience in general, because basically for 30 days you're just killing it, doing trying a bunch of new techniques to see what's going to stick and what's going to move the needle.
Definitely. And let's talk about getting your inventory out to contributors. Like, how streamlined is that process?
Kickstarter makes it fairly simple. You send out a survey, people respond to the survey or don't, and then you can fulfill against that the survey respondents. I think the part that's been tricky for us is that we still have several hundred people, about 200, who haven't responded to our survey yet. And so I'm wondering, okay, do they just not want a reward? I've reminded people several times. You can't send the survey out again. You can just remind people to take the survey, if that makes sense. The updates will allow you to remind them that a survey needs to be taken, but you can't resend the survey itself. So it's kind of tricky because we have about 200 people whose rewards we haven't fulfilled. Right. And it's just because we can't get those folks to And reply.
How about like shipping and all that? Was any of that a nightmare? Well, no, because you're set up for that already. I find that some Kickstarter campaigns or just crowdfunding campaigns in general, they're not ready to be a shipping company. And so like, now how do I get all this product to people? Harold, you're extremely organized. How did you handle that whole system?
We used a system called BackerKit, which
What did BackerKit? Okay.
And it managed and tracked all the orders. We were able to resend surveys and messages out to people. So it's a more enhanced version versus Kickstarter's inbuilt system. We actually raised another $15,000 from BackerKit immediately through the shipping process.
Wow.
How does that work? How did you raise more money through
when people
them?
entered their shipping information, they could choose to add or purchase more items.
That's awesome. So what I'd like to do at the end, and I know we stayed on slightly longer than we had planned, so thank you so much for being flexible and making this all happen. I'm really excited for Sean and creating Blab and this Blab community. So the last thing I'd like to do is a quick fire mentor session. Obviously, this one would be crowdfunding. So I know that we have a group of you in the Blab community who are hanging out. I see you, Nick, Brittany. Anybody who wants to jump on right now and have that quickfire mentor session, I'm going to open up the gates of the 4 spots. And if no one has a crowdfunding campaign right now, nobody wants the Kickstarter session, that's totally okay. I mean, maybe Daniel, do you want to jump on? You actually met Angel this past week. It just popped into my head right now. But anybody who wants not that you don't have to know about crowdfunding. So the quick fire session is to ask anything you want to ask about crowdfunding, potentially to help you have a successful crowdfunding campaign yourself. So just to clarify, this is for someone that is looking to learn about crowdfunding, potentially their own campaign, and they want to have the best. And you have 2 people who have had incredibly successful campaigns who are able to answer any questions that you have. And if no one really wants that opportunity, which I think you guys are crazy not to want that opportunity, because I feel lucky that I get to ask you guys whatever I want to ask. I will open it up if I have the ability. No, probably not, Daniel. But Sean, then maybe you want to jump on and ask a couple questions if you're still there. I'm not sure if you're still there, or Brittany, and we'll use one of you guys as the guinea pig. Again, I'm just starting using Blab, so I'm getting accustomed to the whole process flow. Or Daniel, if you want to jump on and ask anything you want to. Oh, Brittany, yay! Okay, gotcha. And it's saying accepting caller, and it's bumping her picture. Hey, Brittany. Hello. So what questions do you have? Brittany, why don't you give us a quick background on you and then ask any questions you have for Harold and or Angel.
Okay. So I actually work over on Blab, but I always do like weird little projects. I call them like things to get rid of my loans quickly. So I'm always like, they feel like these like get rid of your loan quick schemes. But they're really just like little projects where I'm like, okay, well, I'll do freelance and I don't know. So I wanted to do something in my spare time with like those enamel like lapel pins, like those metal ones. And I was going to do something called Bills for Bills. And it's a set of like 3 guys named Bill. So this is my weird idea, but like Bill Murray, Bill Nye, and Bill Clinton. And you buy this pack of bills to help me pay off my bills, I guess.
I love it.
So they're all kind of like weird and niche, funny ideas. And I guess like I want to you have to buy them in bulk, and that's like the problem. So I kind of need to crowdfund it in a way, and I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do for it or what I should do, I guess.
So what do you guys think?
I would agree with Coda Guy 64 that be careful about using celebrities' likeness without licensing it. You could run into legal issues.
It sounds like, though, you have a bunch of kind of cool ideas that are brewing in your head. So when you find one that maybe doesn't rely on like celebrity likenesses, I would say the most important thing to do is seed your campaign. So remember I was talking earlier about having your page set up and sending it out to people so that they can basically see your page and respond to it before it's actually live. You should be thinking of, like, if you have a list of bloggers, you want to be seeding that page with bloggers so that they can write about your site on the day that your campaign launches. But also you should get confirmed backers ready to donate the minute the thing goes live, because as Harold was saying earlier, the ranking that you get on day one can snowball into you staying on top through the whole time, because the way the algorithm works. So you really, really want to have out of the gate, like, as much money already confirmed and earmarked, even if it's your mom, even if it's your grandma, like whoever it is, just like get people to commit so that you have, a couple $1,000 backers almost the minute the thing goes live. Like they're all sitting there together and you're ready to like pull the trigger, hit the button, and then boom, they all contribute, because you want to set the feeling that, wow, this has got a lot of momentum and people are into this, and maybe I'm missing out if I don't get into it. You know
so
what I mean?
How important is it to actually have the physical product before launching, or like do Photoshop like mock-ups of it?
I think
we had to Photoshop mock-ups of it because we were still prototyping the physical. Like we were still in the process of designing the packaging. We were still in the process of choosing the final material for this. I had a version of it that I was wearing in the Kickstarter video, but it wasn't this version. And so we kind of faked it because we didn't have the final product. And it was challenging for us because our product is a custom designed set of nail wraps. So the idea of a pre-order, like we were like, well, what can we give away as rewards? We can give people pictures of my cats on nails. Who's going to want that? But what we found was, the internet loves cats. Like this particular design got picked up and was like run on MTV Styles, hot Kickstarters or hot blogs or whatever thing, because the internet loves cats. But like, you want to have some sort of approximation. You don't necessarily have to have the final, but you need to be able to fake it pretty convincingly so that people feel like it's a real thing and not just like smoke and mirrors.
I know as a purchaser, I purchased way too much last week. I definitely wanted to know that I'm even one of the purchasers of Coolest Cooler, which I think I purchased last year or something, and they've been like really delayed in bringing out the product. But when I was watching it, it looked real. I could see the whole thing. It wasn't like everything I bought. I felt like I was buying something. I would just have to wait a really long time for it to arrive, but I felt like it was ready. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be prepared for the fact that your Kickstarter backers are going to be on you to deliver those. Like it's kind of insane the pressure that your backers, can wield. And, you already, as a founder, you're dealing with so many pressures, but like they get really, really aggravated and annoyed when you don't deliver. I mean, we have, there's one person in particular who keeps messaging me and saying, I invested $15 and, why isn't the Android version done yet? And I'm like, it's a long story.
So we have a question from Terry. Hey, Terry. And I love that Daniel's here and Lee. Hi. One of the questions are, and Terry, early bird is like beta list, right? He was asking, what about using building groups, for example, early bird for feedback, getting confirmed backers?
Yeah.
I've not used early bird, but I would recommend something of that
Harold,
sort.
what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, given that they match your demographic.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. How can people stay in? Thank you so much, Brittany, for jumping on. Did you find that helpful?
Yeah, that was helpful. I didn't know where to start at all, so it's great.
Awesome. And I actually love your idea of Guilds to Build, but I'm a sucker for alliteration. It sounds something like that. So Harold, Angel, how can people stay in touch with you? How can they connect further?
Just tweet me.
You can tweet to me too, but for some reason it's showing up with me as Angel 2, and I'm just Angel on Twitter.
Okay, cool. So everybody, Angel on Twitter. So twitter.com/Angel. Yes, that is correct. You heard it right. It's Angel. She somehow ended up. Actually, before you go off, Angel, because I was wowed that you have the Twitter handle Angel, and then it's not actually completely positive. You were saying.
What do you mean?
A lot of people tweet at Angel that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, so people will mention me erroneously to congratulate the Manchester United soccer player Angel Di Maria. They will tell me that they're having a great time at Angel Stadium, or they wish the show Angel would come back on the air, or they're watching reruns of Angel, or they're at the Angel Food Station. So my whole mentions feed is just like jacked with all.
Oh, wow.
Me.
So at Angel. And by the way, Terry, did we answer your question okay? Was that good? Did that work for you? And let me know in the comments. And Harold, how can people stay in touch with you?
Just tweet me at HAZTAN.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to stay on for an extra second just to read the chat. And I think with Blab, it stays online. So if you see my eyes looking funny and getting quiet, I'm just reading the chat. But thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me and helping everybody here. And you're awesome. And I love your products.
Thank you. Good luck in your future Kickstarters, whatever you guys launch.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. So now I'm going to open it up if anyone wants to jump in. But I'm going to pause the recording or... Brittany, are you still there? How do I turn off the recording? Just press pause, or is that only when I close the screen the recording turns off? Pause.